Hello and welcome to the Three Quarter Slot Podcast. I am Sean Kernahan, and here, like we do each week, we will go ahead and break down what's happening across the baseball prospect world, from high school to college through the pros. To get started, let's dive into the first pitch. This week, I want to go ahead and just kind of talk about uh, personal takes compared to industry and some of that push pull. You in this world you can't help but know and read and see what other evaluators are putting out there, talking to scouts, what scouts' opinions, what they have. Um, and each year there's guys that are kind of the guys that I like, my favorite guy in the draft, so to speak, that aren't necessarily the top players in the draft, but guys who I really, really do like. And there's also guys that just aren't getting any real draft buzz that I like and I think they should. So I'm going to kind of touch on some of that. Kind of give you an example. A few years ago, my guy was Zion Rose. Talked to him a little before the draft, and it was clear that he was going to end up at Louisville. And now he's a potential first rounder. Last year, my guy was Anthony Pack. He was a guy who prospect fatigue kind of started to set in. He had been in so many showcases, been seen by scouts so often that sometimes you've seen enough positives that you can't help but start to nitpick, and I think that happened with him. Now he's a freshman at Texas and is a key cog of one of the top teams in the country. This year, I kind of got two of them. One is not too far off that top pick. For me, he's number two, and that's Jacob Lombard. Now I know that is contrary to a lot of rankings you'll see out there. He's a guy who I just really like his overall game. His ceiling is massive. I've talked about him on this pod. I've actually talked about my other guy, Curiel, on the pod as well. Two guys I really like, Lombard, and two very different guys. Lombard is a guy who is tools galore, going to be a super high upside, maybe as high an upside as anybody in this class, but there is some risk in his profile as well. Meanwhile, Derek Curiel doesn't have the upside, but he has a incredibly high floor. It's a really safe profile. There's not going to be much power in there, but it's a good hit tool. He can play defense. He's going to be, pretty much a no doubter big leaguer in time, and that's something I really like out of him. And I'm higher on him than a lot of people do. Last year, for me here in the state of Colorado, a guy I really liked that just wasn't getting any draft buzz was Sam Harry out of Castle View High School here in Colorado, in Castle Rock. Little to no buzz. I talked to one team who had any real interest in him at the time. That's not to say others weren't. There's just one that I was able to confirm. And now he's top of the lineup for Sacramento State and is one of the better freshmen that you haven't heard of this year because he's playing at Sacramento State. But he's a guy who's going to get a ton of interest this offseason. If he enters the transfer portal, I would not be surprised at all to see him in a Power 5 school. He has been really, really good and a guy I liked. So this year, I can't ignore kind of a guy that I've got a very similar feeling about. That every time I see him, he, every time I see him, he does something that stands out for me. Really like what I see every time. I think he's a legitimate shortstop, and that's Chase Massey out of Regis Jesuit here in Colorado. He, smooth stroke, got some good pop. I think it's some sneaky pop in there. He's a real shortstop. He's committed to Boston College, and I think Birdball's got a heck of a prospect coming in there because the chances of him getting drafted are quite slim at this point. But as a guy that I really, really do like, and I think he's going to be a name to remember come 2029 if and when he does get. Well, let's move on to the second inning where we go ahead and recap the amateur game that I first highlighted. I previewed last week, and that was the Virginia against Notre Dame. Now, initially, I was saying Friday night it was going to be Kyle Johnson against Jack Riddell. Awesome matchup. Couldn't wait to see it. Notre Dame was on a 7-game losing streak, and they decided to go ahead and mix some things up. moved Riddell to Saturday, so I went ahead and kept an eye on all three games there, and watched the first two. Kept an eye on the third one, which was not competitive. But Virginia took the Friday game 8-4. They won Sunday 20-5. Hence me saying I followed along with it. I did not watch it start to finish. Notre Dame did snap that losing streak on Saturday with Jack Riddell on the hill with a 5-3 win. So, as far as the who stood out there in that series, in that matchup, we'll start with those pitchers. And Kyle Johnson, he went 4 innings, gave up 2 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, but he did walk 4 batters in his 4 innings. The command concerns came up again, something that has been kind of his downfall on the mound. He is a two-way prospect, but he's got some long levers and some inconsistencies in his delivery, and it certainly leads to plenty of concerns in terms of the command. That said, his fastball was up to 95. He had a good fade on his changeup. Slider was sitting 77 to 80. Good sharp two-plane. And then he also had a distinct curveball as well, which was good to see the 4 pitches. Again, it's just the concern of, is he going to have the command to be a starter at the next level? I think his future is on the mound, not necessarily in the outfield. I really do like him and what he can do on the mound. I just don't know that he's going to be a starter at the next level. A guy who will be a starter at the next level is Jack Riddell. That Saturday game that ended the at that point 8-game losing streak he went 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned, walked 1, struck out 5. Took just 88 pitches to get through those 7 innings. He's one of those guys who doesn't have a super high ceiling. I don't think he's ever going to be an ace of a staff or anything like that. Probably more like a number 4 starter in a big league rotation, but a pretty good bet that he's going to be in a big league rotation. And then Noah Yoder, star freshman, he went 2 2/3 on Saturday, gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, struck out 2. A guy who's going to be a mainstay in that Virginia rotation probably starting next year. If you are watching the pod on Spotify or on YouTube, the opening clip that was going was Harrison Didowick, and he hit 2 home runs on Friday. Overall for the weekend, he went 7 for 14, 3 total home runs and 6 RBI. Eric Becker went 5 for 12 on the weekend. He 2 home runs and 6 RBI. Those home runs and RBI all came on that Sunday blowout. Then Bino Waters was kind of the standout position player for Notre Dame on the weekend, and he went 5 for 13. So I'm moving on to this coming weekend. We're going to go ahead and preview the highest matchup, head-to-head matchup this weekend, which is going to be Georgia Tech against North Carolina. It's a strong Friday night matchup with Tate McKee against Jason DeCaro. Tate McKee's got a super deep arsenal. He's got a fastball in the mid-90s at times, more low to mid-90s. Multiple shapes to it, multiple breaking balls. He gets bad swings from good hitters. A really good Friday night guy on the college game. I don't have a great sense of where he's going to be slated in the draft, and I look forward to really diving deep into him this weekend. Moving on, Jason DeCaro. He's going to be among the youngest players in the draft from the college side of things. I don't think he's even turned 20 yet. He's a guy who came to campus early. He made his collegiate debut at the age of 17. His fastball's been up to 97, but it's a pretty flat and straight fastball, so it doesn't play to the velo. He's got a really good changeup, some heavy fade, a good sweeper, and a 12-6 breaking ball as well. I really like the breaking stuff. 2 potential plus breakers, but again, that fastball it plays more like a 45 rather than the velo of a 55-6. So really want to see some better shape to that. I'm curious if there's going to be any adjustments once he gets to the pro level. But at the same time, he's still 19, doesn't turn 20, like I said, until I believe the next coming weeks. So it may actually be this week. But beside the point, I really do like Jason DeCaro, and I want to see some of that improvement coming, but we shall see what he does there. He's on the mound for North Carolina. As far as the bats go, you know, DeCaro's going to have his hands full. Got Von Lackey, who potentially the number two collegiate bat off the board here in July. Rock Chalowski is still the no doubt number one. I think Lackey has a case to be the number two. Drew Burris at one point was the number two for me. So we'll see. He's slid a little bit, but he's still really good. He's an undersized player, but he can stick in center field. He's got pop. Uh, Drew Burris is a really good ball player. That's a heck of a part, top of that lineup. Then you got Alex Hernandez and Jaron Advincula, both guys who will probably hear their names first half of day one come July. In that first two rounds or so, but good chance of them both being called on day one. I'm pretty confident in that. Advincula is a second baseman. Alex Hernandez, there's some positional questions. I think he can play right field. There might be some risk that he ends up at first base long term. But Alex Hernandez is he's all bat. That's the key. He's got a good arm, which is why I would like to see. I think maybe he has a chance to stick out in right field. Meanwhile, North Carolina, Owen Hull, Jack Shafter, Gavin Gallagher, Eric Paulson, a really good collegiate lineup, some good prospects there. Nobody's going to be, the star at the next level, but some really good draft prospects and guys who will definitely be. I hear their name called relatively early come draft day. Now, the pro matchup I previewed last week was Tulsa and Springfield, both AA for the Dodgers and the Cardinals. It was a high-scoring game. So while Serwinowski and Sagente, they did not have the greatest outings for as far as command and success on the mound, and that led to both of them out of the game relatively early. And I'll kind of get into that detail in a bit. But the story of the game was Maddox Bruns in relief for Tulsa when on back-to-back, actually it wasn't even pitches. They didn't throw a pitch in the sequence. The Springfield Cardinals stole home twice without a single pitch being thrown. So 2 steals of home. You can see him if you're watching. He steps off and throws home both times. 2 runs scored, 0 pitches thrown for Maddox Bruns. Just a wild sequence. Chris Newell hit a really big home run opposite field for Tulsa. Kendall George looked really good. All fields approach. He had 3 hits, a couple of RBI, scored 3 times, had a nice double to lead off the game. Every starter in the Tulsa lineup ended up recording a hit. Serwinowski, I talked about it coming into the game, the command concerns and the real thoughts that he was probably going to end up being he was probably a power reliever, definitely not a starter, and he kind of showed some of those concerns. He's got that big fastball, but in an inning and a third is all he lasted. He walked 3 batters. It doesn't have the command, and that's going to really hurt his long-term value. Sagente, he is not completely relegated to right-handed pitching only, but that may not be too far off either. He has faced 2 batters this year as a left-handed pitcher. Both of them he walked. He went 3 innings in this matchup, gave up 6 hits, 6 earned runs, walked 5, and struck out 4. It's just that left-handed pitching. I still like him being able to use it, but if he's going to walk every batter he faces in that, and obviously an incredibly small sample size, 2 batters, but he's got to reel in the command there. The stuff is good. He just got hit around a little bit against a really good Tulsa lineup, so that's nothing to be ashamed of. Chase Davis, he did not recapture the glory, the prospect status in this game at least. He was 0 for 4 wearing the sombrero with 4 strikeouts. Now, this week, there's the essentially must-watch minor league baseball at this point in time is Bradenton whenever Seth Hernandez is on the mound. But I've talked about Seth Hernandez plenty. He was my number one player on the board last year for a reason. I'm not going to go ahead and hype up the Seth Hernandez train even more. I've done my share. So I'm actually going to be tuning into a different matchup. For me, it's going to be Fresno at Ontario on Thursday night, 9:35 Eastern Time. This is a Colorado Rockies against Dodgers matchup. The Ontario Tower Buzzers are the newest team in minor league baseball, as the Modesto Nuts are no longer minor league baseball, and the Tower Buzzers are a brand new squad. Now, I had a pitching matchup, but it has since changed. So right now, as of this recording on Wednesday morning, it is TBD against TBD, but that's okay. I'm not concerned about the pitching matchup quite so much. Obviously, there are some solid arms on both squads, but that's not what I'm tuning in to really focus in on. I'm looking forward to seeing Ethan Holliday, a guy who, when Jackson Holliday got drafted, one first overall, I remember saying he might not be the best player in his own family, but and that doesn't count his dad, Matt Holliday. I was talking about Ethan when he was I believe a freshman or a sophomore at the time. He's now with the Rockies. Really looking forward to seeing him. The Rocky system with the Fresno also has Roldy Brito out there. A couple of really good bats. Look forward to seeing both of them play. Ontario, he's got Emil Morales, the top Dodgers prospect on the roster. Kellen Lindsey is a true 80-grade speed guy, as if the Dodgers didn't have enough athletic outfielders in their system. Meanwhile, another athletic outfielder is Landon Vitterick, drafted from the University of Cincinnati, I think in the 8th round last year. He's a guy who I really thought was underrated. He's got pop. He's got a quality hit tool, plenty of tools. He can move. He can throw. I don't think he's going to be a long-term starter in the big leagues. I think he's going to be fourth outfielder type. But he's a guy who can really make an impact and really good depth on the roster. I really like Vitterick, and I think that's going to be a guy to watch there. Little bit surprised that a relatively polished collegiate bat is still in low A. I would expect him to see promotion and get into high A early this season, and that's a guy to really keep an eye on. I like Vitterick. Moving on, let's dive straight into some updates on the high school board. As the two guys I want to focus today had been lights out, and this is going to be Gunnar Garrison, a right-handed pitcher for Eaton High School here in Colorado. He per prep baseball, they've got him at 25 and 2/3 innings, 57 strikeouts, and an 0.55 ERA. He's been up to 96. He's a guy who drops his hands down to the hip, shorter arm action. I'd seen him 89 and 93. Again, recent reports up to 96. He's got a four-seam, a two-seam, a curveball, a splitter, and a slider. All of them, solid action. I think he's climbing up. There's a really good four-way race here in the state of Colorado in terms of the best arm between Garrison, Hudson Alpert, who I saw throw a bullpen, maybe 10, 15 pitches this week after undergoing an internal brace this offseason. Expect him to throw, I believe, in a game for the first time potentially this weekend. So Albert, Garrison, you got Washman, who's up to triple digits, and then you got Maddox Burnett as well. So some really good talent here in Colorado in terms of the arms. It's certainly an arms year here in Colorado, and Garrison has been putting together ridiculous numbers. The bat I want to focus on is Parker Loew from Trinity Christian out there in Florida. So his big buzz was coming a couple of weeks ago when he was at the NHSI. He's been a spring riser, quick hands, really good bat speed. I think he's got plus raw power. There's still swing and miss in that bat, but he does make good contact at the same time. But there's going to be some swing and miss just because of that. All that said, he has improved his whiff rate. It's getting better and better. In the past, he struggled against velocity and really timing up his body. I think he's gotten better with that. And I think that he is a legitimate early round option and could be a high pick this year. I think he can stick at shortstop for a little bit. I think ultimately a third baseman. But Parker Loew has been quite impressive here early this season. In terms of the college board, I mean, the arm that has to be talked about right now after what he did this weekend is Logan Reddemann, who went up to Rutgers and absolutely shoved. He went 8 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 1 run, 18 strikeouts. Again, 18 strikeouts in just 8 innings. Athletic mover, up-tempo delivery. He's got a fastball that's up to now 99 triple digits potentially. He's kind of seen him more 95, 90, 92, 96, but he's flashing some 99s these days, riding life on that fastball. Good mid-80s changeup, kills the spin well, flashes plus. He's got a low to mid-80s sharp 2-plane slider, got a low 80s curveball, and that cutter. It's not big, but it's effective. He has had one heck of a year, and it is in consideration for to potentially be the number 2 arm off the board. I think it's pretty clear that Jackson Flores' number 1 arm in college baseball this year's draft. After that, Cam Fluke, he should be coming back soon. I'd like to see what he can do. Liam Peterson, just the more I see of him, the more I'm just not sold. I don't have great feelings on what I see from him. I think he's got great stuff. He just doesn't put it together as much as I would like to see. I think Reddemann is a guy who could be in the top half of the first round. A guy who could be higher than the top half of the first round next year, 2027, is Landon Hairston. He is the son of Scott Hairston, the nephew of Jerry Hairston Jr., yes, Jerry Hairston Sr., Sam Hairston, all guys who've been played in the big leagues and all in the family, talking about bloodlines. But what a ridiculous year he's had. This last weekend against, I believe it was against Arizona, he went 6 for 13, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 11 RBI. In his first 38 games this year, he's had 23 home runs. He had just 4 last year, clearly hitting for a ton more power. He has 6 more home runs than he does strikeouts on the year. He's a polished hitter with advanced barrel skills, but now all of a sudden there's the true power that used to flash. Now it's legitimate game power instead of just the raw power. A left-handed hitter. The concern with him is going to be the positional battle concerns. Corner outfield is what he needs to be really be that number 2 bat in next year's class behind Brendan Lawson. I think potentially he could stay out there, but there's a big risk that he ends up at first base. If he ends up at first base, it's just hard to go that high on a college first baseman. So we'll see what he can do there, but really the bat is good bat-to-ball skills. He's a smart baseball player, so that's why I think maybe he can stick in the outfield. But boy, has that power really come on this year and been really, really impressive. Pro side of things, Tuesday night, we saw the major league debut of Noah Schultz, the 6'10" lefty for the Chicago White Sox system. He debuted against the Rays. He went 4 1/3, 3 hits, 3 earned, 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. Not the greatest stat lines, but a really good, a solid debut. He's a guy who, big frame, big stuff, doesn't have the biggest of velos necessarily, but I mean, it's plenty of stuff. That slider is potential 70 grade slider, and it's absolutely filthy. It's disgusting. He's got a cutter. He's got a changeup. Which one's going to really be that true third pitch? But big, good fastball, massive stuff. Uh, Potential number two starter, I think, is in in the realm of possibilities. More like a mid rotation guy, high leverage relief, but he did obviously debut in the big league level as a starter, and I think he stays there. Excuse me, for a bit. Really impressive outing from him. On the offensive side of things, Theo Gillen had himself a weekend. The high A outfielder for Tampa Bay. He hit 5 home runs all of last year. In 2 games over the weekend, he hit 4 home runs, back-to-back multi-home run games, his first 2 multi-home run games of his career. And it's always been, hey, he's an athletic left-handed hitter with real power, with real speed. He's a plus runner, quality outfield defender. What is going to be the power output? Well, if he can continue to tap into that, what he did over this last weekend, that power's there. It was more of a projected, still probably a little bit below average, 40 to 45, but it was good to see some of that come to fruition. In game, actual power in game, especially in back-to-back games. He's got a high walk rate. He doesn't chase too much. He used to be in high school. He was a infielder for quite some time. He had a shoulder injury when he was still in high school. I believe it was back in 2023, and the throwing arm just never fully came back. So he's moved up to center field where he's got good range, good reads. I think he's a really good, above average to better defender in center field. He is a speed defense center fielder with a high OBP. It was the question of can he stay healthy, and two, is there power to come? Like I said, if this last weekend was a preview, then Theo Gillen is going to be flying up, but we'll have to see if he can go ahead and continue that pace when it comes to the power and continue those power gains. Closing up here in the ninth, closing it out, looking around what's going on three-quarter slot. We are, as a team, we are working on finishing up our top 500 draft pick rankings for the 2026 draft. 500 of them will be dropping on May 4th. We have the draft guide. That's also in the works. We've got that'll end up leaving with the final 650 ranks. You'll get the rankings out before anybody else. If you purchase that draft guide, there will be 650 fresh reports in that draft guide. That is available for purchase on threequarterslot.com. Again, I'm going to keep this site a free site without a paywall, but we will be doing this draft guide each year, and that'll be the one item that we are selling right now. And looking forward to what you guys see in that. Really happy with what's coming together there. I really like what we got going. Also, right around May 4th, it will just depend on some of making sure the bugs are all worked out, will be our mock draft simulator. Our beta version was released a couple weeks ago with some old numbers and things like that. The rankings aren't great. You can find it if you go searching for it. It is a beta version. There are features that will be updated in the final version. The rankings are not fully accurate in this one. I did not flush out all the teams and whatnot, but it is out there. But once probably May 4th, May 5th is when I will launch the full final version of the simulator. It will allow you to do 1, 5, 10, 20 rounds. It's got team tendencies built into it. There'll be guys who commit to making it to campus amongst the draft and things like that. So a lot of different features, lots of things going in there. Really excited for everybody to see it. I've been playing with it quite a bit. I've done a ton of drafts through there, and to work out the kinks in that. And looking forward to getting that out there in the next few weeks. But with that, that is all for this week. This has been the 3/4 Slot Podcast. Again, check out 3/4slot.com. Give us a follow on all the socials. And we are done. We'll be back next week.